Yeah.
You have a billboard, rated rear parking is correct. Red, make sure, not demonstrate 150 feet from church property again. So you can step back.
We're not just, I've read that same ordinance and that's, I made it very clear that we're not demonstrating, we're not protesting.
There's coming from the existence of truth.
Truth, biblical truth, yeah. No.
Check out these. This might be the most beautiful CD player you can buy today. This is the CD2 by Japanese audio company KM5. It's incredible. No,
Cleaning movie theaters overseas might only pay around $3,000 a month, but people still line up for the job. Why? Because every shift feels like a real life treasure hunt. After each movie, the theater is covered with popcorn, cups, and candy wrappers. It usually takes 1 or 2 hours to clean up the whole place. To make things faster, they fire up big leaf blowers and blast all the trash out from under the seats. And when that happens, cash that's been hiding down there comes flying right out. It's like the money can't wait to be found. Coins filled with cup holders, lost wallets show up between the seats, and sometimes someone forgets their AirPods in the trash. This guy, he just bent down once and came back up with $30 in his hand. And by the time they clock out at night, their pockets are stuffed with extra cash, sometimes even more than their hourly wage. So, what do you think? Work a shift and clean some popcorn and
in prison, I was always a top one person. If I was in cell first, if I had a choice, I'd always take the top one. I like having a window where I could look out. I like feeling like I was above.
get a Mercedes. A man robs a store, shoots up. Shoes, way back into this.
further. Yes. Yeah, good for you. Hey, Bubbles. You know, see you. Thank you guys for the support. Thank you, Bubbles. That's great. Show live. Yeah, I know. I'm back up. Okay, nice to meet you. Yeah, down there. All right, everyone. Thanks for sharing. Yes. Barbara. Thank you. Thank you so much.
On the morning of December 22nd, 2021, just 3 days before Christmas, in Baldwin, Long Island, Nassau County Police were actively searching for a domestic violence suspect known only as Leroy, a man with a history of mental health problems. 63-year-old Tyrone Piper, a grandfather of 8, retired grocery clerk, and National Guard veteran, had just finished his routine podiatry appointment. He was standing outside the doctor's office, waiting for his medical transportation to pick him up. That's when officers spotted him. They claimed he matched the suspect description. Within seconds, what should have been a simple misunderstanding spiraled into a violent confrontation that would change Tyrone's life forever. When Piper didn't hand over an ID, police appeared to grab his umbrella and bag of Christmas cookies, a gift from his doctor. They wrestled him to the ground, handcuffed him, and threw a punch. Calm down.
Hang on. Hang on. Just hang on. Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. Why do you want me? Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. I just need to talk to you, okay? I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. I understand. I need I need to talk to you. Okay. I'm gonna sit you up right now and I need to talk to you. You're my dad. Listen to me. I'm gonna get off you right now. I need to talk to you. Okay? You have the wrong person. I understand that. So I need to make sure who you are. I need to make sure who you are. When I tried to talk to you, you tried to explain what's going on.
The officer claimed Tyrone tried to swing his umbrella at him, but as you can clearly see, a replay here shows otherwise. Here's what people need to understand. According to Terry versus Ohio, police need specific and articulable facts that establish reasonable suspicion that a crime has been or will be committed. Simply fitting a vague description is not enough. Black male wearing black with no teeth. That's an incredibly broad description that could apply to countless people. Officers need more than that to legally detain someone. And critically, in New York, you are not required to carry identification. And you don't have to show identification to a police officer unless you're arrested or issued a summons. Tyrone was under no legal obligation to hand over his identification when first approached. Yet when he initially resisted, which was his right, officers treated it as justification for violence.
When I tried to talk to you, you tried to swing. Yes. I need to make sure who you are. Okay, hang on 1 second. Okay. Okay, no, sit. I didn't do anything. I don't think so. These companies, I want to talk to you. Okay.
Let's talk about the sheer incompetence on display here. Within 44 seconds of contact, officers had Tyrone's identification and a prescription bottle with his full name, Tyrone Piper, clearly printed on it. That should have been the end of it right there, but it wasn't.
They just came and jumped on me. That's all for a second. That's all for a second. You like to think all over fucking place. How the fuck you think I'm fucking? Listen to me. I'm fucking Leroy. The fucking alternative. I just came out the fucking doctor and they told me about I did some damn thinking. I didn't know what this thing. It's like these are. It's a fancy. Nice way to move this.
Listen. Okay. When this officer was asked for your information, the guy that I never listen to me. You said you fit the description, and then the fucking description. Hold on. The officer 10:15 this morning. All right. And then you trying to take the umbrella because you were swinging it over. And there, stop it. Stop it. I'm trying to figure it out.
His ability and attention looking, will you pull it up and keep some? And show them what it
Yeah,
is?
there's someone here right now. Hold on. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Now let's break down the tactics these officers use, because these aren't random. These are trained behaviors. First, notice how backup officers never question the initial stop. They arrive and immediately join in using force without independently assessing whether they have the right person. They're trained to support their fellow officers, even when those officers are clearly wrong. Second, watch how they repeatedly say, "I'm trying to figure it out," while completely ignoring the mountain of evidence in front of them. The prescription, the ID, the witnesses, the driver, the doctor's office staff. This is a deliberate technique to justify continued detention while they scramble for a way to save face. Third, notice the language. Listen to me. Calm down. Stop resisting. These phrases serve two purposes. They sound reasonable on body cam footage, and they allow officers to frame the victim's natural reaction to being wrongfully detained as noncompliance. When Tyrone understandably got upset, officers used that emotion against him, claiming he was being aggressive when he moved his umbrella away from them. They even accused him of swinging it as a weapon. The video shows something completely different. A man trying to protect his belongings. Finally, watch how they ask medical staff if Tyrone has mental health issues. This is a fishing expedition attempting to retroactively justify their actions by suggesting the victim is mentally unstable. When that doesn't work, they pivot to obstruction charges, the go-to charge when officers have nothing else. Despite having overwhelming evidence that Tyrone was not their suspect, officers arrested him anyway. They transported him to Nassau University Medical Center, where he was handcuffed to a hospital gurney. Think about that. A 63-year-old man who just come from a foot doctor appointment, a man who recently had hip surgery, was shackled to a hospital bed. He remained handcuffed until 8:30 that evening before being issued an appearance ticket. Tyrone was charged with obstructing governmental administration. Notice there's no primary crime here. Obstruction charges require an underlying lawful police action to obstruct. If the initial stop was unlawful, and the evidence strongly suggests it was, then the obstruction charge is baseless. For nearly 10 months, Tyrone fought these charges. In late 2022, he was finally acquitted and all charges were dropped, but the damage was done. In 2024, Tyrone filed a federal lawsuit in the Eastern District of New York against the Nassau County Police Department and all the officers involved. The lawsuit alleges racial profiling, false arrest, excessive force, fabrication of evidence, malicious prosecution, and failure to intervene. He's seeking damages between $5 million and $30 million. Tyrone's case illustrates something we see far too often, a routine day.
These were changed in Tennessee DUI law that every driver, defense attorney, and law enforcement officer
It's organized, it's still need a lot of cleaning, as you can see, but there's no stuff on the countertops. It just feels way better when you walk in now. So I'm gonna move to the dining room, but before I move to the dining room, there's a few things that I need to get done in this kitchen. I was reading the comments and I realized that I forgot this. And I forgot to check in the stove and see if anything's in there. And there was one more thing I forgot. What was it? Oh yeah, these. So I need to take off to stop doing the intros without my mask. I think when I come in here, I need to have this on 24/7. I'm afraid of the people without because it was something so much better. Like this house, the smells are definitely not good for me. I took a physical out for the night, hopefully the next little bit. But yeah, from now on, I'll probably have this on 24/7. We have the dining room. So I'm pretty sure everything in these cabinets will go in the storage unit because the cabinets have it in pretty nice shape. There's a plate from the cabinet and you can see it's still white, not a lot of stuff on it, like the kitchen plates. There's a lot of cups on top and inside the actual cabinets. Let's check on the other side. In here, there's a just found a bag with a wallet in it. 2 wallets. Silver police. Right, it is the next morning. The house is still good. Walking into the house and having a clean kitchen and dining room. I don't need to wear my respirator. I feel fine. I will say, after cleaning up the dining room, I think it's going to be a full good as far as the plaster goes. I think I'm going to have to tear down a little plaster because it is just flaking off and it's not looking too hot. I have never torn down plaster, but I'm thinking it's going to be a big job. But I need to learn these things, so it'll be good for me. Here's why I think I'm going to be good. Because there is no patching this. It just comes right off. The wood does not look to be too open.
Yeah,
So whatever needs to be cleaned out eventually. When I'm deciding what to gut it, this is what I look for when I think that I need to gut it. And then over here in the kitchen, you all saw me scrape over this paper and there's just the paint coming off. The plaster is breaking or cutting apart. So I'm not going to keep this over here in the kitchen. You can see messed up plaster again. So I don't really know how I'm going to go about the demo. And I don't think I need to cut everything, but probably a lot of it. Every old house always has these things hanging up. I get asked a lot, is lead paint, and if I got it tested, I didn't get it tested, but only because I'm just going to automatically assume that it's lead paint. And what I mean by that is that every time I do anything with the paint at all, I'm going to wear a respirator to make sure that it stays safe.
If I would do as much deconstruction before you start putting time in to rebuild it. It's a rough fix. And if you don't fix the roof, you're just gonna get water back inside. When you get it decommissioned, so you get all this shit out of there. And then when you're ready to start rebuilding, and we get the roof done, don't want the roof to leaking while you fix it. Once you fix it up, now it's okay to do it. You fix it cheap. Keep looking out. Kind of over.
The dining room is all cleared out. My goal is to clear out 1 room per week. So it feels good to stick to that. If you all want to see extra content, be sure to check out my Instagram, Tia_Weston. Next week, I will be checking on the living room. So if that interests you, hit that subscribe button and I'll Good morning, everybody. It is time for week one of renovating my abandoned house. Last week during the tour, we found out that there was a lot of junk laying around the entire house. So the best for dinner day that clean the floor. This flooring is going to be a lot harder than we thought. It goes all the way into the other room. So we're going to take this wall down and rebuild it, and we just need a lot more tools. So we're done for the night, but we got all the walls cleared out, and we made a lot of progress. It's looking good. I'm really happy that all of the walls don't have any mold on it. That is such a good sign. All of the white is just from the foam insulation that crumbled off, and that's what that is. I'm sure when we take off the floor, we're going to run into a lot of issues because it's leaning in here. But this area right here looks pretty nice. These last 2 weeks have been a little bit different for my channel because it's been Christmas and New Year. So I only got over to the house 2 times this week, which is not normal at all. I'm ready to get back into my routine next week. But thank you all so much for watching these videos. I hope you all had an amazing Christmas and an amazing New Year. Please be sure to subscribe and turn on your bell notifications. And I'll see you next Sunday at 8 a.m. Mountain Time.
Today, welcome back to Twin Sharks. Today, goal, not only for just today, but for half of the day, is to get all of this kitchen cabinetry out. There are two general approaches for such projects. First, civilized. When that doesn't work out for us, we're going to John Henry right here, ready to take action. So past music, already solid favor for present meeting, already cleaned this stuff out, I think. Yeah, all right. But this kitchen dates back to, I think, early 60s. Looks like that, feels like that. So we figured how it's attached. We got a bad feeling it could be made, because there's a lot of windows in this house where in modern day, they would be screws, but in the 60s, they didn't or the impact there, screws and everything. So having them was the most effective way to go. Yeah. Dang. Oh, I should have known that when I was really doing an exposition about the civilized way of being able to screw gun. Well, that's all right. We got old D-Boy too. So as always, we've done anything we'll continue our search for BB Cooper's money. Last time in this room specifically, we took the ceiling out. We found some very, very interesting stuff. No value. Very interesting. If you didn't see that, check that video out. Somewhere in the playlist. Here we go. This looks like this little stuff. Hold on and start to surprise you. It's nasty. Yeah. All right. It really gets spectacular. Because they really attached to me on the row, probably the nails, and then you're going to be pulling all those nails out, or breaking cells on a cutter. This thing's probably just saying, good guns. Incoming. All right, so go for our feelings. That went quickly. We had 5 minutes. Great for us. Again, the forensics are fascinating. This is early wallpaper. That was behind this. That was behind this edge of the upper cabinet. And then on top of that, the cabinets are backed by this paneling. Yeah, all right. It's true. I know some people are thinking that the apple is a bit of a shade, but if you've been following this whole series, the level of gross of these things are is pretty intense. This room was basically a meat box. A long. I know I'm film shows, HGTV, innovation shows. They love showing the sledgehammer. They introduce you to the Hammer Brothers, Sledge and Jack, and merely hurting themselves for the drama. That's all it is, for the drama. They prove it comes and cleans up with 100 people. They basically take out all the little pieces they smashed on the floor. I'm going to drag that whole thing out as a unit. Not only would it have been harder to remove with the sledgehammer, it also would be much more of a mess. I'm going to say the solid with units, and they can usually take parts of the units. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to avoid that bridge, but I don't think I ever played that. I don't know what comes in it. I expect to be the thing in nightmares, these jobs. Not very heavy. Let's think nothing very much. I think this might be a job for old John Henry, but he just wants to come in and take it. Record that. all these are just covered in years of grease. And then grease that's sat for years. Gross. I worked since the start, man. You don't really want to come completely off while you're standing right in front of it because gravity's in it. You know, so crazy. Alrighty, folks, this traffic stop. Steve. But where?
I don't know, whatever he said.
You gotta leave.
This is public property. You gotta leave.
You gotta leave.
In Wyoming County, New York, these sheriff's deputies are ignorant. Did you not, as a sheriff, swear an oath to the Constitution to uphold the Constitution? You can't ID somebody. They are also on a power trip.
Let's go.
I'm not going anywhere until you get a supervisor done. Put your hands off me, man.
Let's
Get your cameras on. Get your cameras on. I'm a free citizen. You don't have a right to do this.
Let's go.
You're gonna regret this.
Good,
You just committed a bad.
good.
Good.
Wrestling.
Well, how about a lawsuit? That's coming. This incident, first reported by the Lackluster Jail, happened in June 2022. Dan Warmus, a constitutional auditor who runs the site auditing.
Like sheriff, because that's his rules. So let's go. We gotta go to the sheriff's
Tell
office.
him to come down here.
You're coming with me.
What, do not touch me.
Let's go.
I'm not going anywhere until you get a supervisor done. Put your hands off me, man.
Let's
Get your cameras on. Get your cameras on. I'm a free citizen. You don't have no right to do this.
Let's go.
You're gonna regret this.
Good.
Get a supervisor down here.
Let's go.
I'm in a public building. You have no lawful order. I broke no law. You have no authority over a free moving citizen whatsoever. You have no authority to put your hands on somebody. You just committed a bad.
Good.
Good.
Wrestling.
Yeah, you know there's no accountability for the Blue Line Gang.
Let's go.
The only place I'm going is out here in handcuffs because you guys have no lawful authority to trespass into this building without committing a crime. Dan is correct. They have no authority trespassing from the building.
Just be reasonable.
Why can't you be reasonable?
We are,
You put your hands on me.
that's right, I do.
You put your hands on me.
Our job.
It's not your job to ID people illegally.
My job,
Did you swear an oath to the Constitution?
I did.
To uphold the Constitution. So my Fourth Amendment violation, you have no authority to ID me. Where's your supervisor? See who knows the law, because you guys are so ignorant of the law. You guys are so ignorant of the law. You are not going to see my BI. I'm not giving up ID unless you. What crime do you suspect me of? What crime did you suspect me of? How do you know I'm not here working?
You show us the right thing, you need to be down there.
Excuse me. You keep running into me, sir.
Ran into me.
I'm just trying to travel. You guys are trying to impede my travel.
We're not going to pass here.
Would you guys put your body cameras on? I want your supervisors to see it firsthand what you guys do. Why do you guys not have your body cameras on? What are these things for? So you can violate people's rights without being on video? I've been video you guys violating my rights the whole time right now. You're gonna learn what rights. I love that, dude. Within moments, a captain arrives.
But what's your business do? You take care of it?
No, this guy put his hand on it. Well, let me go to the county clerk's office. I just want to get county clerk's file some poll request. He thinks he can get ID out of somebody without committing a crime. You can't. That's a Fourth Amendment violation. He literally says he doesn't know what the Fourth Amendment is. He thinks it's nonsense. This is not funny. I have no point. I'm coming through here, documenting my experience,
And all he wants to
filing some poll requests, and I'm done with this legal detention. You need to educate your
deputy missing. The right way. So from there, county clerk's office. Yeah, I would say with the county budget, just exercising my constitutional rights to be in public, video record, and these guys are absolutely violating my civil rights right now.
That means the bit saying your
So,
right name, you can show us.
Thank you for taking care of that. I'm just going to county clerk's office.
You gotta sign in, that's who.
I did sign it. I did.
Show us
I'm
your.
here under the freedom of press as Dan of Erie County. That's the name of the press. You're not getting my last name. You guys don't get my last name. That's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. Is that not a violation of the Fourth Amendment? Are you the captain?
We'll see if they,
They don't know.
Eventually, the county's top law enforcement officer enters, Sheriff Weaver.
You're the sheriff of the county. Stop you being is violating my civil rights. They're also put their hands on me and assaulted me or battered me unlawfully because I do not have a lawful command. It's time to turn my camera off in this public space. And you know that as a sheriff, I'm here to document my experience, and these guys are stopping me, calling it illegal detention on my rights.
Doesn't look like you're being detained, me.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Sheriff. Looks like I'm being detained out of I'm locked out of the county clerk's office due to a county building. Is business hours over? Is business hours over? I want to go to the county clerk's office. File support. Are you refusing me service, Sheriff?
The door is locked, and this is the Wyoming County PR Sheriff.
The door is locked because I just locked it because of the camera. Straight up. You are violating the First Amendment rights or refusing service on it. So I want to know. You say yes?
Why don't we get a hold of the clerk's office?
Do the clerks have a choice who they get to see and don't get to see? Sheriff, why is this door locked? If they're gonna allow public services to public, what is going on? You guys are violating my rights. There's no rights. There's no rights being violated? I can't go to the county clerk's office because why? When you educate your officers about my First and Fourth Amendment rights, they think they can get an idea when you come to a public building. Do you agree with that, Sheriff? Sheriff, do you have to show ID to get into this public building? Do you have to show your driver's license? I did write my name down at who I am. So what is the problem? Do you have to show ID to get into this building? Because that would be a Fourth Amendment violation, correct, Sheriff? Fourth Amendment, unlawful search and seizure. You cannot demand ID unless you've been suspected of a crime. Reasonable, articulable suspicion, RAS. You know these things. You're a sheriff. You're trying to address it. Just get a little patient. It's all right. A little patient. I'm being detained out of this office right now. So, what is your name, sir? You're the sheriff of the county, but you're not willing to admit that there could be a Fourth Amendment violation for the ID to get in this building?
A few minutes later, escorted by Deputy Sage, Auditor Dan Wormus was finally allowed to the clerk's office.
Or wait right here.
Within moments, Dan received the documents he had been seeking.
Yeah, I'll just take a photos of it and give it right back. See, I'll put it right in the black thing.
That's perfect, absolutely.
Thank you.
The internet has not taken kindly to the attitude and actions of these New York law enforcement officers. The Wyoming County Sheriff's Department has been bombarded with emails, criticism on social media, and phone calls. And that's just the start. Auditor Dan Wormus says he is now preparing to sue the sheriff's deputies for civil rights violations. And in order to minimize costs, legal experts say the county would be wise to settle with him. You see, when a city or county has law enforcement officers who do not know the law or the Constitution, there is often financial pain. And in some cases, including this one, there was also political fallout. Wyoming County, New York Sheriff Gregory Rudolph was up for re-election this fall. But just days after a local television station did a news report on his encounter with the auditor, Sheriff Rudolph sent an email to the County Board of Supervisors announcing his retirement. The sheriff refused to comment. I have a feeling the sheriff, deputies, and many of you may think that constitutional auditors are rude and obnoxious. But remember, people who stand up for our constitutional rights and identify cops who are doing all of us a service. Law enforcement in America needs to change, and honoring the Constitution instead of trampling on it is a crucial first step. David Schuster, thanks for joining us.
you're thinking of.
Welcome back to the channel. Today we have
11 PM.
Yep, I'm sorry.
Have a good night.
Yep,
I'll be up here.
yep.
Hey buddy, what's going on? Hold on a second.
Say the social media giant flagged them for something very serious, even though they did nothing wrong.
Child sexual exploitation, abuse, and nudity.
That's why Meta says it permanently disabled Tara Hanover's Instagram and Facebook pages. Teenage daughters, too.
But I am worried because it impacts my work. It impacts my business.
Well, the N-words got the exact same message from Meta. Hurricane shut down for child exploitation.
That's some pretty heinous accusations, and nothing could be further from truth.
For Tara Hanover, it means her business, a regional magazine, has no social media footprint. She said,
We won, we did it. We beat Evil Bergman.
It was a victory for the auditing community led by Sean Paul Reyes, won on audit, and a defeat for the city of Berwyn, Illinois, and state's attorney on the civilian vote.
They lost. The tyrants lost. They lost. There's nothing they can do. The tyrants lost.
The case states that to November 8th, 2021.
This should be a good one. No cameras or recording devices without my approval.
Reyes
they did. And looking at the circuitry for the cassette recorder, I do not see any AC bias oscillator coil. So yes, just as I suspected, this is a DC bias recorder. The bottom flutter is pretty typical for one of these mechanisms. It's around 0.15%, and the speed is pretty accurate. It's within 0.5% of being correct, which is close enough that you wouldn't notice the difference. And here is the patent in question, number 316097, filed in March 1987 by Shinsaku Tanaka, who was the person that Tanishin was named after. Or I suppose in Japanese that would be pronounced something like Tanashi. And there's the drawing of it, which almost exactly matches the knockoff version we saw in the RCA boombox. There's the opposite side, including the motor and flywheel, again, virtually identical to what we saw. Making the fact the mark was granted in April 1991 until when it expired in 2005. And while I'm at it, here's a GE boombox, another Thomson Consumer Electronics product from April 1992. So let's see what kind of cassette mechanism it has. From the front, I already noticed one difference. It's this white piece, which was not present in the other mechanism. I believe this is part of the auto stop system. Yes, when I stop the take-up spindle from rotating, that's what kicks it off. And there's the back of it. There's no Tanishin sticker on it, but it does have a couple of stampings on it. And there are enough subtle differences in the overall design that it was clearly not from the same supplier as the one in that other boombox. And just like the other one, it has a genuine Noguchi motor and a metal flywheel. And yeah, that belt is definitely getting rather loose, so I'll replace it while I'm into. This is a larger boombox than the first one, so it has a more powerful amplifier chip mounted to a singer. It's a Toshiba TA8207, which is rated at 4.6 watts per channel. The speakers are 4-inch, 4-ohm, 5-watt speakers made by Samsung. And in this case, what may look like bass ports or thick tweeters are blocked out. So this one doesn't have any bass ports. I know from experience, this one makes much higher quality cassette recordings than the first one. That's because it is an AC bias recorder instead of DC bias. Indeed, right there is the AC bias oscillator port. And the GE also does have equalization for foam and metal tape playback. And one other difference of note is that instead of having separate radio tuner and FM stereo decoder chips, it has everything integrated into a Samsung KA2292 chip, which is a combined AM/FM radio tuner and FM stereo decoder, all in one package. New belt belt has been installed. Much better. This one is a bit worse. The ground flutter is around 0.2% and the speed is around 0.6% fast. That belt I put on is not an exact fit with my spec. Next things would be
Audio Renaissance presents A Risk Worth Taking by Robin Pilcher.
Here's something different. It's a neon license plate frame for your car. This dates back to early to mid 1990s, back when these were a fad. A lot of people custom modified cars to put these on to attract attention to them, and not only attracted attention of the general public, but also of law enforcement, because in most states these were illegal.
Some car accessories, like the neon lights you see, forget to ticket. Don Lopez tells us all about it. We're conducting an investigation.
It's Friday night. Lit the cameras to make sure his floor is spotless. His music crystal clear. Look at this. This is a real attention grabber. How about this nice neon light kit that goes in its speaker? Only one thing that burns my gut. An officer pulled them over and said the neon light kit that goes in the license plate has got to go.
Stuck in one brain, which is, once you take it out of the package and used it, you can't send it back to them and they won't take the refund. So basically, you spent $50, $60 that you didn't need to spend. You were putting a type of, around it. That also is a lot of people.
Officer Walter Hadley says the law just doesn't want you obstructing your license plate or making his job any harder.
A lot of the neon covers actually do cover the truck's plate. It doesn't lend to being able to read the plate very well. And trying to stop a vehicle, obviously, for officer safety, I want to be able to identify the vehicle.
Neon light owners tell me if this is against the law, why are so many kids being sold in auto schools? Well, when I asked store owners that same very question, I was told there's a law in the books. There's always a way around it.
Just don't let it go.
Tom Boyle said he warns his customers of potential trouble before they do.
That's what I tell them. You have to take it now with the plate on top and step back and shoot on top of it. That way it would be legal. Just can't have a direct light on there because it obstructs the plate.
Officer Hadley verified that for me and says that's fine. But Mike, he's not taking any chances. He moved his neon light to the front of the store. He figures, I pushed the law. After all, you can see him coming in with me. They might go to as Foxy, he might use Jim.
So obviously, I don't intend to put this on my car. This is strictly a show and tell piece, and this is a real neon sign. It's not an LED made to look like neon. It's an actual glass tube filled with neon gas that has a transformer in there that applies high voltage to it. It's somewhere around 2,000 volts, which causes that gas to fluoresce and look. Neon signs were once very common for general purpose signage for businesses because they were bright and colorful and they could be made in any shape or form and you could create animated displays with them. Over time, they got associated with seedy establishments like casinos and bars and cheap motels. And in fact, some towns banned neon signs because they were considered to be an eyesore. And in recent years, neon signs are rapidly disappearing due to their high cost of maintenance, and they're probably getting broken due to weather and vandalism. And nowadays, since the LED neon style signs have gotten so close to the original, it's just not worth getting real neon signs repaired anymore. Even in historic districts which are trying to keep the original look, they're replacing real neon with the LED neon signs. Here's a neon sign that's still in use. Unfortunately, it's at a bank drive-through that's no longer in service. So there's actually a green open sign behind the red close sign that's no longer ever been to be used. They'll just stay saying closed until either breaks or they get rid of it. So hopefully this one is going to be working because it's still in its original packaging, even though it looks rather beat up. Don't think this one has ever been taken out or used. It's by Quest Accessories. It's the neon street lights, the neon license plate frame. For some reason maybe it said neon twice there. They show the warning of electric shock, because this does have high voltage in it, even though it runs on 12 volts. It's from 1993, Quest Industries, Miami, Florida, made in China. And like I said, these were illegal in most jurisdictions, so this has a big warning on it saying this product is intended solely for the purposes of decorative and off-road use. Check laws and regulations in the state, county, and or municipality regarding installation and use of this product. And this one, you can either have the entire neon tube exposed, or you can put this shield on it, which just shows little pinpoints through it. It says includes Starlight Glare Shield for unique pinpoint neon effect around license plate. I just noticed this one says purple, so I guess instead of blue, it's going to be more of a purple color. I removed the staples, so here we go for opening up the package for the first time in 29 years. These are just holders to make sure it doesn't get damaged in the box. And there it is. Remove these protective things, which are still plexiglass. Okay. So there's the neon license plate frame. There's mounting hardware, which I will not be needing. And here's that Starlight shield thing, which actually just, that only gets you? Because it looks like it also, yeah, they show little dots on the sides too, but it's completely blocked off on the sides. So that's all that does. And then this is just runs on 12 volts DC. The little transformer is built into it. See what it says here. Use caution during installation. Always turn neon light off at filling stations and during refueling. Yeah, because you don't want high voltage sparks right next to gasoline. Here, transformer specifications: input 9 to 14 volts DC, output 1500 volts AC, so 1.5 kilovolts, 350 milliamps. I guess that's the input, right? If it was 350 milliamps at 1.5 kilovolts, that's a lot of current. So that's probably an input current. And has a patent number. I'll have to look that up. So there's a 1.5 kilovolt transformer in there. Otherwise, you just have to apply 12 volts DC and see if this thing works. I got my 12 volt lead acid battery, and all I should have to do is cut the wires, and it should light up. Like that. It's instant response as soon as I connect it. Lights up bright purple. I remember in the late 90s, the Ford Explorer used a neon tube for its center high mount stoplight, because that was before LED brake lights were common, so they used a neon tube. I don't know if the camera's doing justice to the purple color. It's kind of hard to photograph. I didn't hear it humming, so it must use a switching power supply. Yeah, listen what happens when I put an AM radio next to it. Seems to be the strongest in this corner because it's even making the tuning LED light up. So this must be the corner where the circuitry is for the power supply is, because obviously that's where the wire goes in. And if I connect an ammeter to the circuit, it just about pegs the meter on the 250 milliamp scale. So it's about 240 milliamps.
You are in a great place with your life today.
Got it. Here's another alarm clock from the
a fair warning to those of you out there that have been wearing Christmas items and are continuously still wearing Christmas items. Now, you got any outfits and there are Christmas items and you have them saved to outfits, you need to not do that, okay? Because what's going to happen here is like January 8th is going to roll around in a couple days, and then you're going to end up losing all of your outfits that have any Christmas items on them. Now, this is going to be excluding a few Christmas items for the collectibles, like players have asked me, do we get to keep the beach outfit, the Yeti outfit, things like that? Yeah. And then other t-shirts and hats that we have collected, maybe throughout the years, like one of those shirts right there. All right, this sweater and the Krampus sweater, we get to keep those two. I get to keep the holiday sweaters. All these sweaters right here are mine that I've unlocked throughout the years. I get to keep all those. But then now we're getting down to some sweaters that I don't get to keep. Any of this stuff? No, we don't get to keep like any of this stuff whatsoever. There's tons of Christmas items in the game, and most likely right now you probably have an outfit with something saved to it. So what's going to happen to that outfit is you're going to lose the entire outfit. I think someone was in the car show the other day. They have like green joggers, but I did notice that they have what will be a blacklisted Christmas item. So I was telling them in the party, like, bro, you don't save that outfit. If you have it saved, you need to remove the Christmas items because once again, these clothing items are blacklisted any other time throughout the year. They only come around Christmas time. They're only accessible during Christmas time, and Christmas items will be leaving, like all the Christmas stuff that's in the game right now, it's all going to be leaving. All the events, the goof stuff, it's all going to be ending January 7th. So once again, I just wanted to go ahead and make this video telling you guys, if you got any of the Christmas items saved to outfits that are blacklisted, you're going to end up losing the entire outfits. And how do I know this? Well, because the game is almost 13 years old, and you would think for a GTA YouTuber that's been here for all 13 years, yeah, I've experienced this because I did have modded outfits years prior with Christmas items that were saved to it, and then reluctantly, the very next day when I woke up and I checked my outfits, I was like, oh, they're gone. Like the entire outfit. Like it didn't just take the items away from the outfit, it just took the entire outfit itself. So fair warning to those of you out there, if you got Christmas items, you can enjoy them for a couple more days, but after that, you're gonna have to seriously think about making sure that you don't have any items that are saved to any outfits, because once again, they're gonna get gone because these items are considered blacklisted items. And if you don't know what blacklisted means, I'll explain it to you, okay? In high detail right now. You can't have it. That's basically it, okay? Blacklisted means you don't get it. And there's tons of blacklisted things in the game. Clothing items, vehicles, and other stuff like that. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe for more content if you're new here to the channel so you don't miss out on daily Grand Theft Auto Online videos. And we got
As you can see, winter is very much here in North Dakota. You can barely see the house because of all the overgrown trees just covered with ice. I need to look around and hire someone that can come out and cut the branches. At least the ones that are right over the house so that none of them fall on the house and make it worse than it already is. Okay, here's the game plan for the living room. I'm going to start with the outer walls and clean all of those areas. And then I'm going to move to the middle and get all this cleared out. I like taking big clean outs like this in baby steps. So just starting with one wall makes it feel more manageable. This is definitely going to be the biggest transformation so far because it's the biggest room and it has so much stuff in it. It's also going to take the longest. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, taking down the curtains because we need all the sunlight we can get for as long as possible.
Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Emma, and this is my necessary, guys, to come over and clear the entire back of my property. And in the back of the property, there are a ton of bottles. There are actually mounds where they used to just throw old trash, essentially, that have beautiful antique glass bottles back there. I wanted to just spend one more day searching, digging, looking for anything really cool that I can find, especially that I can find back there before he comes and clears the land, because basically everything's gonna be fresh at that point. He's gonna come in and basically plow the whole back. I wanted to just see if I can salvage a few more things before that happens. And I think it will be really fun to see what we can find because I've already found some really cool things. So without further ado, let me get my little trowel and we'll go to the back of the property. So this mound that I'm on right now is a spot where I have already found a bunch of bottles. I wanted to just keep digging this mound because I have a feeling that there are more gems under here. Let's see what we find. These are a bunch of bottles. You know, it's kind of crazy that no matter how much I dig back here, I'll never find everything that's back here. And like there will always be treasures on this property. Whenever I put a garden back here or courtyard, underneath it all, there's always going to be antiques. And that's a crazy thought. We're doing no gloves. I'm about to get really good at it. Wow, that is cool. Wow, look at that, you guys. I can't believe that these are still intact. I've never.
This is a Magnavox D3240 from sometime in the late 1980s, and it's actually been in my family ever since it was new. It originally belonged to my older sister, and then when she went off to college, it got passed down to me, and I've kept it in my possession and used it ever since. It has a simulated wood grain finish on the top, and a large grill which does an excellent job of collecting dust, which I was unable to completely clear out. And it's deceptively large because the actual speaker is only here. It's only about 2 inches in diameter. And already you can see some weirdness of controls. On top here it says functions control. What does that even mean? Like as if we wouldn't know these are the controls if they didn't point it out to us. But you have your typical mode switch for the radio and alarm. Instead of sleep, it says slumber. So they have these odd terminologies they use instead of the industry standard button labels. Then you have the controls for adjusting the time and alarm. Instead of the conventional hour and minute buttons, it has fast and slow. So for example, it's set 40 minutes past midnight right now. You want to set it to like 5 p.m. You have to hold it down and just wait until it gets up to the desired time. And if you overshoot it, you have to go all the way back around again. You do get a slow control, but this is one of the reasons I'm making this video, because I have to clean these buttons, so they're getting rather hard to push. I have to really push down on it to get to register. So it probably has dirty contacts, and I figured if I'm going to be taking this thing apart, I might as well do a video about it. But you do get a slow time advance if I can even get it to register. That's your slow minute by minute advancement. Then you get another one for adjusting the alarm, and it works the same way. And again, instead of what everyone else calls a snooze button with or without the E on the end, it says repeat alarm slumber off. So that's your snooze button. On the front, it gets even weirder because it has your typical red LED time display. There's no colon between the hours and minutes. I don't think I've ever seen another clock radio or alarm clock of any kind which didn't have a colon. And there it mentions the battery backup, which she calls power back up. And then here on the tuning dial for the radio, unlike every other analog tuning dial I've ever seen, it doesn't go by all even numbers on FM. It starts out pretty normal, 88, 92, but then it goes 95, 99, 103. I've never seen that before on a tuning dial for FM radio. I don't know, maybe somebody at Magnavox said favorite radio radio stations on 95, 99, and 103. So they decide to point it out on the dial. The AM dial also gets a little bit weird because instead of going by hundreds, like 600, 800, 1,000, it goes 650, 850. Then it goes back normal, 1,200 and 1,600. And there's your tuning pointer at the bottom with the log scale from 0 to 10. In case you don't know, the point of the log scale is that if you found some unknown station and you're unsure of its exact frequency, you can write down where it is on this decimal scale from 0 to 10. So you could say bring down tune to 4.6, and you can log that down as the station's location on the dial. On the right, you get the normal controls for tuning, volume, and AM and FM band selection. At least that's totally normal. Here's the bottom. It is UL listed, and it's manufactured by NAP, which stands for North American Philips, because Philips owned Magnavox by this point. Then here it refers to both hertz and cycles per second, which was well obsolete by this point. Pretty much everyone stopped using cycles per second in the late 1960s and early 1970s. Then look at the door for the 9-volt battery backup, which it calls power backup, but also mains breakdown buffer. That has to be the most British way of referring to it I've ever heard. No one in America has ever said, "By Jove, I do believe there has been a mains breakdown." Nobody in North America refers to the electrical supply as mains. And inside that battery compartment, it looks like it originally had a sticker saying use carbon zinc batteries. And it looks like someone forgot to inspect it at the factory, but nonetheless it's still working. And sometimes when you plug it in after a power failure, you don't have a battery backup. Instead of just flashing 12 o'clock, like every other clock radio, it alternates between 12 o'clock and 12:01. Here's the inside, and I can see why those buttons are so hard to push. They're attached to a piece of foam, which of course has degraded with time. It's not quite falling apart yet, but you see, especially these buttons, when I push on it, the foam actually splits apart. So that's going to need to be replaced. I have a slightly thicker piece of foam I can replace it with. And it's interesting that the speaker was actually made by Pioneer. It's 8 ohms, 0.2 watts, and I think that's the date code 8524. So this was made in 1985. Here in the base, the circuitry looks pretty old-fashioned, especially the way they put wax to glue some of the components in place. Clock chip is a National Semiconductor NM5456N, also with 1985 decode, and that looks like the radio tuner chip TEA 5570, and I noticed it has a sticker identifying the AM tuner's intermediate frequency at 455 kilohertz. I believe that's the audio amplifier, but it's so buried in there, glued in, I can't identify it. Here are the switches in the base that those buttons push down on. Some of them still have a nice clicky tactile feel. Those two that are getting rather hard to push don't have much of it left. They still work, but definitely getting rather worn out. I'm going to try spraying a very little amount of electrical contact cleaner in those switches. You definitely don't want to overdo it. Sometimes I see people really hosing down controls of this stuff, like, and it just makes me wince because they're putting way too much of it in. This can actually has adjustable spray and you can put it all the way on low. Just a little amount. These I can really just drip them in because they don't need that much. Those top ones are not having trouble like the lower ones. So now just work them in. Drop this one down here, but that one didn't have any trouble either. So just drip a little bit in there. And just work at these buttons a little bit. Put some on this switch. Not a little too much, but that kind of switch can take it. Contacts are big compared to these little touch sensitive buttons. And even though they weren't scratchy while I'm at it, those will spray the volume control and the band selector. cut a replacement for this degraded piece of foam out of this slightly thicker piece of foam. So I'm gonna glue that in place. The replacement foam has been installed, so hopefully the combination of this and cleaning the contacts of those switches will help make those buttons work better. Here's the first test before I screw it back together. One other perk of this clock radio is that in order to get to stop blinking 12 o'clock, all you have to do is hit the time set button. You don't even have to change the time. Just hitting that button cancels the blinking. Now for the best time setting, fine, never really had much of a problem to begin with, but now it works fine. Once you got that slow time setting. Yeah, still have to really push on it to get it to work. I might try wedging more foam in there to build it up a little bit higher, but I think that button is just worn out. And same thing with the alarm setting, really have to push on it to get it to register. So I think those switches are just worn out from use over all these years. But there's the slumber, or what it calls slumber, what every other radio calls sleep. That's the AM radio tuner. And here's the FM tuner.
Journey. We bring you down this hour of radio today. WBC Chicago, East American Life, Amara Glass.
Never really sounded that great, but you can't expect by quality of a 2-inch speaker, even if they were made by Pioneer. Okay, that's still on. The beep stays the same, but the volume
Say whatever.
adjust the radio. So if you want beep only, you just turn down the volume. Or you can choose just the radio without the beep.
Elevation.
And that's your snooze, or what it calls repeat alarm. Actually, if I push on buttons directly, they're not that bad. There's that alarm setting button. Yeah, it kind of takes a bit of force to get it to register, but it's not terrible. So what I'm going to try doing is taking this extra piece of foam and putting it on top of those buttons, the two of those that are having the most trouble. Let's see if that helps. Actually, there may be a little bit too much foam in there now, because as soon as I push on the time setting button, it automatically fast forwards. So that's not good. Now what I did is cut off a little piece of this original thinner foam and wedged that in there. And now it's acceptable. It works pretty good now. So I'm happy with that. I don't really have to hammer on those buttons anymore to get them to press. And these still work fine. Everything works fine. So now it's working about as good as it's ever going to work. Now I can install the mains breakdown Here's something I found at the thrift store. It's a vintage automotive emergency light, probably from the 1960s or 1970s. Has a red lens on one side and a clear lens on the other side. There's a light bulb in there. And a switch on the top, you can select either steady or flashing. It says here, for the protection of a friend of the Yardville National Bank, Yardville, New Jersey. The only information I could find on that is that Yardville National Bank was acquired by PNC in 2007. There's this metal flap on it. Open that up. You can see the cord in there and a plug on it, or what was back then called a cigarette lighter socket. Now it's just called a 12-volt power outlet. Almost looks like Bakelite, but it has these marks on it where the cord kind of melted on it. So I don't know if it's Bakelite, because I don't think Bakelite does that. It has these springy metal terminals on it. Definitely doesn't look like a modern 12-volt power socket plug. And the cord just looks like ordinary household lamp cord. Pull it out here. Quite long. And obviously, it's never been taken out of its original wrapping. And down there, you can see the light bulb and the resistor, which is part of that flashing circuit. The light bulb is a little bit too deep in there, and this thing's a little bit too small for me to be able to reach in and pull it out. But it appears to be the same thing as one of these. It's a brass base 1156 brake light bulb, 12.8 volts, 27 watts. So it pulls about 2 amps from the battery when it's in use. Still can find these in auto parts stores today. And I guess the idea of this metal flap is that you can use it as a stand. For example, if you want to use the light to illuminate what you're working on, for example, changing a flat tire, which was pretty common back in those days, back in the age of bi-supply tires. It's pretty common for those things to have blowouts, which is virtually unknown these days, thankfully. And cars in general back then broke down a lot. Some more than others, definitely, but generally cars were a lot more unreliable back in the 60s and 70s than they are these days. So I guess if you took out a car loan at this bank, they would give you one of these as a gift. I know it was very common if you took out a mortgage on a house, they would give you a free toaster back in those days, because interest rates used to be a lot higher and banks used to be a lot more tightly regulated, so they couldn't really give you a better deal on your loan at any one bank compared to the other. So instead, they would give you better freebies. And also, if you wanted to have this more as a warning to passing motorists, you could prop it up like that so they could see the flashing red light. When I first got this, I plugged it into the power outlet of my car, even though this plug kind of looks like it wouldn't work, but it actually does work. And the bulb was fine, and it works fine. But for this demonstration, I'm going to use a 12-volt gel cell battery and a couple of clip leads to connect it to power. So here we go. And that is the steady on mode. I know it kind of looks washed out, but it's a very nice deep red color on that side and a pretty bright white color on that side. So you can see right through there to the bulb. So now if I switch it to flashing mode, there it goes. It's a thermal flasher. That's why it took a while to start up, because it's had to heat up before it started blinking. And the turn signal blinker in cars used to be like that as well. You would see that the first flash would be longer than the following ones because it needed to warm up. Not quite as long as the delay as we saw with this, but it was noticeable. So there goes flashing thermally. Can't quite hear it. I know some thermal flashers, you can hear a tink, tink sound as it as the contacts open and close, but this one you can't quite hear. I turned down my camera's exposure so you can get a better idea of the color of the red light. And then switch it back into flashing mode. About a 7 or 8 second delay before it starts flashing. And here's the clear side. You can see the phone in there. So one flash per second. I can hear my clock ticking in time to the flashes. I've been a long time user of these KOS KTX Pro 1 headphones. I've had this pair for a number of years, and just recently, the left channel started cutting out because of a loose connection and this inline volume control. So I bought a replacement pair here. They cost less than $14 on Amazon, and it's the same exact pair of headphones, just this one is brand new, and they sound identical, so I'm happy with that. And that normally happens every few years. Something goes wrong with these, and I end up buying a new pair. Because even though these have a lifetime warranty, it's not free. You have to pay $9 for the warranty service, in addition to the shipping cost of sending these to KOS. And if you add that up, it doesn't make much sense to do that compared to just buying a new pair. But this time, as a matter of principle, I'm actually going to do that. So I read all the terms and conditions here. It doesn't say you need to send in the original receipt. It says KOS will either refund the purchase price of the product or repair or replace the product if it's non-functioning or defective, provided it is returned to KOS in secure packaging together with a check for $9. So I will send them that check for $9 in addition to this old pair of headphones. I'll put it in a new box. So it'll be in original packaging. And this one says 2008. I don't know if that means this has been sitting in the warehouse since 2008. It did have an Amazon warehouse deal sticker on it, so maybe this was sort of a leftover item. I don't know. It does seem to be in brand new condition. So this time, instead of just discarding the old pair, as a matter of principle, I'm actually going to send it into KOS with that $9 check and see how long it takes to get my replacement pair. Today is June 29th, 2020, so it'll go out in tomorrow's mail with the $9 check, and I'll do a follow-up video once I receive the replacement. If they decide to send a check instead, or if they reject my warranty claim, I'll do a video about that as well. So there they are, all boxed up and ready to go out to KOS in Milwaukee. I looked it up, and the postage is going to cost me $5.45. So if you add that to the $9 check I enclosed to get the warranty replacement, it's going to cost me about 50 cents more than what I paid to just buy a new pair of them. So that's why it makes no financial sense to take advantage of the lifetime warranty on these headphones, but I'm going to do it anyway just to see what happens. And here's a screenshot of the letter I enclosed with these headphones. Pause the video if you want to read it. Just when I had started to give up hope of receiving my replacement headphones from KOS, this showed up in the mail today, 6 weeks later. I sent out my package of broken headphones on June 30th, and I received this today on August 11th. In the past, I would have been upset about this slow turnaround time, but I'm willing to cut some slack because due to current world events, they may have a limited number of people working in their office, and they may have even been totally closed for part of this time. And it wasn't a fault of the mail being slow because they sent it out on August 7th, which was Friday, and today is Tuesday. So that's pretty reasonable time for first class mail to get from Milwaukee, Wisconsin to here in New Jersey. And as for whether or not their fee of $9 to cover the warranty service and return postage is a reasonable fee, this is a 14-ounce package, and they used first-class commercial-based pricing. I looked that up, and the maximum amount that would cost to send within the U.S., for example, if they were sending this to Alaska or Hawaii, is $5.70. Well, of course, you have to include the cost of the boxes, packing list, pouch, the tape to wrap up the box, and maybe there's some bubble wrap inside. So I think that's a reasonable fee. If you're not making too much money off of this kind of service, and keep in mind these are fairly small and light headphones. If you sent in something bigger and heavier for warranty service, obviously it would cost them more to ship it back to you. And only thing in the box is a pair of COS KTX Pro 1 headphones, and what appears to be the same box I sent mine in, because I remember this 2008 on the sticker, and it's clearly been opened. I notice on the packing slip here it says both, so maybe these replacement headphones don't normally come in the same kind of retail packaging, and they just happen to reuse what I sent mine out in. Let's take a closer look at them. Toughness, are these to a nib? And I would say yes. The ear pads are totally clean. Board. Well, it's not the neatest wrapping, but certainly looks new. So clearly they don't send you
cooperative emergencies. So let's see how that works, starting with the first item, the solar butterflies. In this box are solar butterflies. They paid $56.99 for this. Currently at 4.2 star rating on Amazon. No having reviews. And here are the three parts: butterflies, stem, and stand. They claim that it's a solar-powered butterfly garden sculpture featuring 13 butterflies in the realistic from a distance. It gets not up close. Color might slowly change. IP67 waterproof, adjustable stem, and leaves. So no, I didn't realize they were metallic. They didn't see metallic on the emotionally. People online liked it. They said it was easy to assemble. They said it looks great during the day or at night, and the lights are bright. Now, those who didn't like it, some people said that it looks cheaply made, overpriced. The lights look pretty much. With only three pieces, it should be easy to assemble. So when I head outside, see these work.
You know, it seems like every time I want to do a solar powered gadget, it gets clouded. But I'm gonna deal it anyways. So I'm gonna still set these up one more kind of.
Hands on the chair. I don't know that. Put your hands on the time. Would you want me to remove you from the vehicle? Would you step out? Would you like voluntarily step out? Or would you like your hands on the vehicle? It's up to you. Now, there's two options. Two options. Which one? I don't know. Would you like to step out? I can pat you down.
On May 30th, 2024, Justin was driving. Noticed something unsettling. A sheriff's vehicle had been following him, not just for a block or two, for over 10 miles. The officer never pulled him over for a violation. He just followed, waiting, hoping the driver would get nervous and mess up. But Justin didn't make a single mistake. So what did the officer do? He waited until the driver pulled into his own driveway, then activated his lights right there at his doorstep. And this wasn't the first time. It was the fourth traffic stop that week.
Remove your hands. Yes. I'm telling you to put both hands on the chair. I don't know that. Put your hands on the same time. Would you like me to remove you from the vehicle? So, would you just step out? Would you like to voluntarily step out? Or would you like to put your hands on the vehicle? It's up to you. I'm telling you yesterday. There's two options. I don't know. Would you like to step out and back down? I'm speaking to you. I do lights every day. You can tell me anything you want. That doesn't mean I believe it. Does that make sense? Okay. If you make forward movements inside a vehicle, or I don't know what's inside this vehicle, I get a little worried. I understand that. I'm telling you, I'm looking at my ID. That's you. We've already got you right now. It's called passport. We've already identified. Okay, so you don't need to reach for anything else. You understand that? Yes, I do. You understand that? Yes, I do. Hey, I'm having a conversation. And I'm telling you in front of you, I'm going to look at it. Okay, so that's it. You did it. That's good. That's good. That's good. What did you make? I didn't do it. So, but can write your citation and figure it out.
Oh, right here from the home, we have no. What would be
Again, I didn't pull you up, so I'm not gonna answer that question.
communicate with the other
He's conducting his traffic stop. I'm here babysitting you because you want to make further movements. So we
people we don't see you. We don't want to make contact with you first.
Right.
And I'm informing you on what we need.
Right.
So if they reach you informed,
There's no agreement. I have you on board, we don't reach you. Yes, it is. If you reach for anything, it's on the floor.
just
I'm just giving you a very, very clear, making sure we're on the same page.
and telling you it's not illegal to make movements. So
It is if I tell you to get you.
it's not off the order. Yes, but I'm gonna go to
You're very familiar with all that.
maybe you can let me know.
Well, I went to Florida State University for criminal justice summer, and then I went to a two-year degree on my word.
So you're a police officer.
Correct.
You're getting that.
What is my job as a police officer?
So what?
What is it? To conduct law? No, it's to enforce law, which means I have to be familiar with the laws and how to enforce them.
So the gentleman in the vehicle before.
It's part of case.
So
when
police officer should be correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that law? Or
Yes, it's a law.
No.
Tell somebody to do something. It's law.
Yes, I'm very cooperative.
Not working. I'm just telling you what.
But I'm telling you, that's lawful.
Yes, he ordered Justin to place both hands on the steering wheel and claimed it was a lawful order. But here's the problem. There is no law in the United States that requires you to place your hands on your steering wheel during a traffic stop. While officers can order drivers to exit vehicles during lawful stops under Pennsylvania versus Mims, they cannot simply command drivers to place hands in specific positions without legal authority. When Justin informed the officer he had no weapons, the officer's response was chilling. I get lied to every day. I don't know who to believe. The officer then prohibited the driver from reaching for his identification, threatened to remove him from the vehicle, and claimed that any movement inside the car was illegal. This is fundamentally wrong. The officer even admitted he went to Florida State University for criminal justice and claimed that if he tells someone to do something, it automatically becomes a lawful order. That's not how the law works. The situation deteriorated when the officer threatened to use force if the driver reached for anything, including his phone. He stated this was a lawful order and that making movements in a vehicle was illegal. If I tell you you can't do that, this represents a dangerous misunderstanding of police authority. Officers have authority to order occupants out of vehicles during lawful traffic stops for safety reasons, but they cannot restrict all movement inside the vehicle or prohibit someone from reaching for documents unless they have specific articulable reasons to believe the person is armed and dangerous. The officers claim that he found numerous firearms and concealed weapons in his experience doesn't give him blanket authority to restrict constitutional rights. The driver remained calm throughout, repeatedly stating he had no weapons and was simply trying to cooperate. Meanwhile, the second officer admitted he didn't even conduct the stop, saying he was just there, babysitting the driver because of his movements. The power dynamic was clear. Submit to whatever we demand or face escalation. After all the threats, all the constitutional overreach, and all the intimidation, the stop ended with absolutely nothing. No citation, no ticket, no warning, nothing. The officer never even explained why the traffic stop was initiated. When asked directly what the violation was, the officers refused to answer. They followed this man for 10 miles, pulled him over at his own home, threatened to forcibly remove him from his vehicle, restricted his movements, and then just left. No accountability, no explanation, just the lingering trauma of being treated like a criminal in your own driveway for doing nothing wrong. This kind of policing doesn't make anyone safer. It erodes trust, violates rights, and leaves people traumatized. The officer's fundamental misunderstanding of what constitutes a lawful order is dangerous. His belief that any command he issues automatically becomes law is exactly the kind of thinking that leads to abuse of power. What do you think? Should officers be able to follow you for miles without cause, pull you over at your home, and issue commands without legal authority? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
Where is licensure?
I believe the second house before I got to the property, I could do it with that. I'm recording like you guys said.
It's 2,000.
Not too, maybe as soon as I came to my
Okay.
she's scared. Of course she's scared. You know what I'm saying? But we're
If you want, you can get this copy of this, but it's probably much.
yeah, probably. Should we take a
Probably, they're fucking going around the block. But you,
planets and about them, well, how much lots of minerals on Earth started out life as liquids, either dissolved in water or heated
That's
for this.
It's rare, ladies and gentlemen. It's rare that someone does an audit that is legally sound, well documented, and has a legitimate point to make. Like I said in the last video, pursuing auditors are disorganized and often misinformed. And literally anyone that can press the record button can become one. So it's rare that we find an auditor out in the wild who's doing it right, considering that there's basically no barrier to entry to get out there and start reporting a police officer. Today, I'm going to share with you one of the best audits I've ever seen, and there's a lot to learn from this video for both regular people and first-time auditors or anyone interested in becoming one. You get out your pencils and take notes because this is how it's done. So before we get into what I consider one of the best personnel audits I've ever seen, we need to talk about what led up to this audit even happen. So back in the summer of 2024, last year, CBS 19 News acquired the body camera footage of a shooting that occurred 2 years prior involving Sergeant Shane Iverson of the West County Sheriff's Office and a 29-year-old man named Timothy Michael Rain. This video largely speaks for itself, so I'll just roll here and come back and give you some context for Vincent Sullivan. And don't worry, it's safe for where you don't see anything below you or anything like that, and it's only about a minute. So here it is.
Good evening. Good. I'm Sergeant Iverson of the West County Sheriff's Office. Reason I pulled the odor is you knew that stop sign back there. Oh, then stop and they can feel stop the stop sign. All right. I didn't. I came to a stop. No, you did. So what do you mean? What do you mean? You said I'll be able to. Okay. I mean. Can you show me that I was okay. All right, put your hand up real quick. You got anything on you? Should be in your pocket. And wasn't. I don't have anything. Lobster. I don't have anything handy. Later back. That's exactly how it works. I give you the. Hey, look it up. Okay. Is that true?
So I was right here. Texas is not a stop and ID state, which means that an officer needs more than just reasonable suspicion to demand an ID. In Texas and pretty much any other state that's not a stop and identify state, you are not required to show your ID unless you are being arrested. The code that Bob was referencing there, Texas Penal Code 3802, which is something that we've covered a lot in the UTA, is also one of the laws that officers in Texas, in my opinion, should be the most familiar with. And it clearly states that you do not have to show your ID unless you have been lawfully arrested. Needless to say,